Hey everyone, welcome back to Swimbait Buyer's Guide, Part 2. Today we're going to be talking about soft swim baits, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different soft swim baits. Depending where you are in the country, depending on what your water temperatures are, some of these swim baits you're not going to want to throw in cold water. But the holidays are coming, sales are coming, so, you can put one of these on your radar or pick it up for next season when it warms up, or you can throw it tomorrow if your water temperatures are good. There's a ton of soft swim baits out there in the market. I don't have all of them. I haven't fished all of them. So I'm only going to really talk to you about the baits that I know and that I have confidence in. Swim baits are kind of broken up into two categories. You've got paddle tail type swim baits, which your tail looks something like this, right? That's a standard paddle tail swim bait. And then you have something called like a vortex type tail, and your tail might look something like that. Depending where you are in the country, if your water temperatures are anything like ours here in central Indiana in the 40s or even lower, those paddle tail type swim baits, the majority of them are not going to work well right now. These baits are made out of plastisol. They're really soft. So some of them are firmer than others. What happens to plastic in cold water is that it gets very firm. And the firmer this plastic gets, the less action you will get. So those paddle tail type swim baits are going to lose their action pretty quick in very, very cold water. But like I said, some of you may be in warmer waters and you may be able to still throw those. I'm talking about paddle tail swim baits also, or not paddle tail, I'm talking about soft swim baits right now in general, because for me here, the hard bait bite is starting to go away. At a certain water temperature, they stop following the glide baits, and they start to get more lethargic, they start to get down deeper, and that's when you have to resort to a bottom slow moving bait. So some of the baits that I have, we'll start with the baits that work well in my area right now. This is a bluegill by a company called Burrito Baits out of Indianapolis. And you can see that's got a very interesting type tail on it. It's pretty soft. This is a jig hook swim bait. See how that's got that exposed hook? So this is a bait that's going to move really, really, really slowly. And I do have another bait from Burrito Baits. I think this is called a Nacho Supreme. All of their baits are named after, Mexican street food. Again, another jig hook swim bait, but it does have that paddle tail. So this bait is going to lose some of its action. Both of these baits are designed to be fished very, very slow. One of the things I like about these baits is they're meant to be crawled and they have fantastic action in the water, but when you let these baits sink to the bottom, they sit upright just like that. So I'm definitely going to be throwing this. I'm going to test this guy out again this year to see what the action on the tail does. This guy's not seen very much time on the water, but I've had it for a while. This guy has seen a little bit of time on the water, and I've had him for less than a month. But again, definitely a great company. I would recommend Burrito Baits out of Indianapolis. If you're interested in them, you can go to their website, burritobaits.com. Sundays, 7 o'clock Eastern time, I believe, is when new baits go up, and they usually sell out pretty quick. So if you're in the market to try and get some of these, you better move pretty quickly on it. Scottsboro Tackle, a company that's widely available on Tackle Warehouse, makes these 6-inch soft swim baits. As you guys can see, this is a weedless style swim bait, so it's got a hook pocket, right? And I've got this rigged up on an Owner Beast. I think this is a 6/0 hook. This is a paddle tail swim bait. This plastic is a little firmer but softer than like your Kitex. This is going to work until it starts getting really, really frigid. Then again, this tail is going to firm up pretty well. But this works really, really well in the spring and in the fall. Had some really good luck on this earlier this year. Similar to this is this guy. And this is a bait by 715 Baits. This is a 6-inch bait as well. It does not have a hook pocket down here. It's got a little bit of a ridge in the top where you can rig your beast hooks weedless. Most of the time where I'm throwing this, I've got to have a weedless presentation. But this is a great bait. Had a lot of good luck on this earlier this year. Again, this is a pretty soft, so it's going to have some good action into some cold water, but eventually it is going to lose its kick. Some other baits that you're going to find out there on the website, Beast Coast is a pretty new company, but they make a 6-inch swim bait, pretty cool bait. It does have a hook pocket inside. It is a paddle tail type swim bait. I think you get 2 per pack when you order these. You want to rig these on like a 6/0 owner beast hook. You can see it like a shad pattern and like an IU style pattern. Both of these baits have yielded great results for me. Paddle tail swim bait, really cold water, it's going to lose its action. Megabass. Megabass makes something called the Mag Draft. And this is a 6-inch version of the Mag Draft. Why do they call it a Mag Draft? Because it's got a magnet. And that magnet holds that treble hook. When that fish hits it, and you hit that fish with it, he gets hooked here, and this swivels. So he can't use that bait as leverage. But this is a 6-inch version. Again, it's a paddle tail. It's going to work into some cold water, but when it starts getting frigid, it's going to lose its action. This is a 6-inch version. I'm really going to be looking forward to throwing the 8 and maybe even the 10-inch version next year, but definitely something that you want to look at or consider buying. One of the things that I've learned is that the softer the bait, the longer the action, the colder water you can fish it in. And this is a bait that I heard about on Tactical Bass, and this is called a Little Creeper Trash Fish. Little Creeper is the brand, Trash Fish is the model. This is the 6-inch version. This is the softest, floppiest swim bait I've ever used. I mean, you can totally just collapse this thing up into your fist, and it's completely fine opening up. This is meant to be fished like ultra slow on the bottom. It can be rigged one of 2 ways. It's got a hook pocket here, so you can rig it, screw lock keeper into here, owner beast hook through here. If you do decide to rig it weedless, I definitely recommend going to Tactical Bass and checking out a video that Tim made on the best way to rig this weedless. He takes a toothpick and he sticks it through the side here, comes out the side here, and it travels through the hook pocket, and then he breaks off the edges, and it helps hold on to that hook or the bend in that hook, so the bend in the hook doesn't tear this bait up from the inside because this is so soft. But this is something that I throw in the summer. This is something I throw in the winter because this thing, it has a unique type of paddle tail, but because it's so soft, it still moves, it still gives great action in the water. But when I'm talking about you fish this thing ultra slow, you are literally creeping your handle. Like when you think you're going slow enough, slow down by half. It's ridiculous. But sometimes that's what the bass want in the wintertime. So little creeper trash fish. All of these baits that I'm talking to you about are relatively budget friendly. You just go on Tackle Warehouse, check them out. Some of them are 2-packs, some of them are singles. I don't think anything here exceeds like the $15 mark. A lot of people out there throwing Kitex. I throw Kitex myself. That is an 8-inch Kitech, if you've never seen one. This thing is gigantic. And Kitex the smaller Kitex tend to stiffen up in the water and stop giving action. Well, this thing, you can see kind of how soft and floppy that is. This thing moves in frigid water. This thing has a super wide boom, boom, boom kick in frigid water. This would be something that you would rig weedless, you would throw out, let it sink, and creep on bottom. You're gonna run into some other soft swim baits, like this is a Savage Gear bait I think I got in my Monster Bass box. This doesn't have a paddle tail or a vortex tail. This gets its action because it's almost like a soft plastic glide bait, kinda. So when it swims through the water, it swims like that. Something like this is not going to lose its action in the cold water, at least all of it. So something like this is something that you could fish, but this doesn't sink very fast. So this is typically something you would throw in shallow water. So trying to throw this in deep water might be a little bit difficult. Little Creeper we were talking about a few minutes ago, they also make a bluegill. This thing is awesome, especially in the spawn as a bed bait. Again, super floppy, like you could totally just collapse this thing up, but it rigs really, really well on a 5/0 weedless screw lock hook. This thing will move in the wintertime as well. So if you can get it down to the bottom and creep it, this thing will creep. Last bait we're gonna talk about today, winter bait, really, really good spawning bait, pre-spawn, post-spawn, during the spawn. Matt Lures Ultimate Bluegill. Probably the most lifelike, one of the most lifelike baits you'll ever see in your life. The attention to detail in this thing is incredible. The plastic that they use is extremely soft. All of these fins move in the water in conjunction with the tail. So it's got a lot of secondary action. But this bait sinks and needs to be swam very, 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 very slow. So again, this is another creeping type bait, or unless you're like flipping it into spawning beds. Definitely something, if you guys fish the pre-spawn, if you fish the spawn, if you fish the post-spawn, if you're fishing, during the summer around the bluegill spawns, around those full moons when the bluegills are spawning, totally, totally awesome bait. That's it. That's what I've got for you today. These are the baits that I've tried out. These are the baits that I've had luck on. Why isn't this dude talking about a Huddleston? Because my Huddleston's sitting in the bottom of a rock quarry right now. And it has been for like 10 months, because that's when I lost it early this year, fishing after ice out. Huddleston's a fantastic bait. That's really one of those baits that is going to fool a fish and probably has the best tail kick out of any soft swim bait that I've ever seen swimming in 30-degree water. But I threw it a bunch, never even got a follow on it. But as far as the action in the water, it's fantastic. I do know of some guys that I've chatted with on some social media sites that were throwing a Huddleston a month and a half ago in northern Indiana and catching 20 bass a day. So there's no doubt that it's a fish catching machine. I just haven't put it in front of the right bass's face or in front of any bass's face because we all know that finding bass in the wintertime is a very difficult thing. But that's why I didn't show you guys a Huddleston, because it's sitting in the bottom of a rock quarry. It doesn't matter where you're at, right? It doesn't matter if your waters right now are 35 degrees or if your waters are 72 degrees. You've got the opportunity to get out there and hook a giant this winter using baits of this nature. These are the baits that I have confidence in. I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate you watching, and we've got the rods and reels is coming up next, so stay tuned. Thanks a lot. See ya.